Hello YouTube, welcome to my new channel. It's Christian here. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Happy 4th. I'm going to be sharing my story, experience of Suboxone, Subutex, and opiate withdrawal. I've been an opiate addict for 10 years now, almost 11. Been on Suboxone for 5. So, it all started a decade ago with some stupid accident that I got involved with. I was drunk at this party, broke my foot, broke my wrist, fell down the stairs. Next thing you know, I'm in the hospital, all swollen up with painkillers. So when I first prescribed me Norcos 7.5 or tabs, 3 refills. At the time, they were giving them away like Skittles. This is about 2003. So yeah, I was about 23 years old. I was just in college, partying, living it up. And once the pain subsided, of course, I went chasing after the pills and getting the refills, and I started loving them. I fell in love with them. Once I popped those first few pills, after the pain was gone, of course, I was using them for enjoyment. I was free. I felt happy. I didn't feel anxiety no more, depression no more. I was going through a lot of shit at the time. I wasn't doing very good at school. I was fighting with my family. I lost my car. I totaled it like a few weeks prior to that. Girlfriend left me. All excuses. That led me to that, to using. A few months after that, I look back and it's already snowballed. I'm eating like, it wasn't 2, 3, on the weekends here and there. It became a daily habit. I would pop like 5 at a time, 10 at a time, puke and pop more, it's insane, Of course, around this time I met somebody in that party scene, who got married, and even like 5, 6 months later, she was rebounding from her ex, and so was I, so, we were young and stupid, we thought we were in love, but maybe we were, I don't know, but we got married, moved out of my parents' house, we played house, got an apartment together. You know, doing drugs, partying, going from job to job, quit school, dropped out of school. You know, we even stopped paying our bills because our priority was, we gotta, support our $200, a day habit, for me and her. So anyways, fast forward time, 6 years later, we went broke, bankrupt, had nowhere to go, we were just using them just to like, be normal. You don't even feel high at that point, lost everything. Ended up moving back with her parents for a minute, and that didn't go well, of course. We both started going to a methadone clinic. Somehow she, got out of that. We were on that for like 2 years. It was like 2009 to 2011, for 2 years. Methadone didn't agree with me. I did not like it. It was making me feel really weird, not myself. I started mixing it with Xanax. I was depressed. I was miserable with her because she would drive me nuts. We would drive each other nuts. It just wasn't meant to be. We would fight a lot, drink, fight a lot. So when she ended up going back to her ex, she packed her bags one day and said, hey, that's it. Of course, she got clean. As of now, I never heard of her. I don't know what's going on with her. As far as I'm concerned, she's clean, has a baby. Good for her. She's happy now. So, I wish her well. Me, I stayed heartbroken. I got back on the streets. Quit the clinic. Started doing heroin and benzos and coke and you name it, everything. I think I tried everything but meth and crack. I ended up in the streets, lost my apartment, repossessed my car at the time. Yeah, you know. Uh, until one day I woke up in a hospital and my parents were there, crying because I guess my heart stopped or something. I stopped breathing. Did a cocktail of pills the night before, and that was my wake up call. That was 2012, 2012, something like that. It's like 5 years ago. So that's when I hit rock bottom. I went and seek help. I found a Suboxone doctor, which started prescribing me Suboxone, but you know, it was 8 milligrams at the time. It was just too high, and I went back to him, and I'm like, yeah, this is way too high. So anyways, he lowered me down to 6. So I was at like 6 milligrams for about a year, and every year after that, I went down a milligram. You know, I thought, you know, I got my life back. I'm not gonna say that Suboxone is the devil, like many people say. You know, it actually helped me get back on my feet. Um, I it made me got my life back, you know, a little bit, get me back on my feet. Like I said, I was able to find a good job, was able to buy a car, was able to, I moved back with my parents at this time. My parents, I have the most amazing family, you know. I'm blessed, you know. They're great, they're supportive. You know, my parents are older now, you know. They're like in their 70s, so you know, they don't need my shit no more, you know. So time to grow up. So I moved back with them, you know, a few years ago. And then, you know, little by little, you know, I started weaning down as I got my life together, you know, and started maturing, you know. I weaned myself down every year, like I said, until about last year. Last summer, I tried to quit, and I jumped off on 4 milligrams, which is way too high, you know. It was like 3, 4 milligrams, you know. I went back to work because my job closes around September for vacation. But last year they only closed for 2 weeks, so you know I thought 2 weeks was gonna be enough. I went back to work. I felt like shit. I couldn't sleep still. I couldn't sleep. Sorry. Um, I feel horrible. I had sweats, the chills, you know, headaches because I suffer from migraines. So, you know, the anxiety was off the roof. You know, I was shitting. You know, I had the shits. You know, I just couldn't work like that. I had no energy. I work at a restaurant, a really busy restaurant where you have to be on your feet 8, 9 hours, you know, double shifts. You know how that is, you know. So it was miserable. So I went back to it. You know, I relapsed, but I didn't really call it relapse. You know, I went down like half. You know, I didn't go back up to 4 milligrams. And you know, after I did that break for a couple weeks, you know, I think that kind of helped. So it lowered my tolerance a little bit. I was able to like run on 2 milligrams, and I was comfortable with that. You know. So you know, the worst thing you can do is rush it. You know, you don't want to rush it. So yeah, I went down to about 2 milligrams after that. Got on with, you know, went on with my job, you know, and then just trying to find hobbies, start taking care of myself, you know, and I noticed a huge difference. I mean, I used to eat really bad and, you know, barely did any exercises, did anything, you know. I was just so used to like just sitting on the couch and getting fucked up for all those years, going to the bar, you know, hungover the next day. I just got sick of that life, you know. It's just I'm 35, you know. I shouldn't be doing that kinds of shit no more, you know. Um, anyways, my phone is dying. Hold on 1 second.